What is poppin', residents of the Mighty Clan? This is your boy sixmysta, man, coming at you with part 2 to what if Naruto and Hinata got together early. I know the timestamp when this is coming out is 12 hours earlier than usual, and this video isn't going to be edited since our boy Steak is currently at school, and I'm a little too busy to edit it right now. So yeah, things will go back to normal eventually. It's just right now we're trying to get some stuff out. And also tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, a new series will be starting, which is What If Naruto Was Thor. So if y'all want to see that, make sure to smash like and subscribe. Also go check out all my links in the description, coming from TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, to interact with my community more, and consider joining the Discord. It's a lot of fun in there. So without further ado, let's get into this. So last time we left off, we got into the academy and ended off with the Uchiha massacre, which would have put Sasuke out of place and starting his emo phases. With Naruto and Hinata though, they would continue their training under the Hyuga and also start adapting to their training in the academy. I'm not gonna go over the entire academy day for day. I'm more or less just going to run over what would happen. First, they'd start off with their basic combat training, which Naruto and Hinata would already have down, so they'd just prefer to stick to their Jugen stances and improve on that. Also, I'm going to go over the jutsu that they will learn. So they'd obviously learn the clone jutsu, which Naruto actually would get down in this one since he has impeccable chakra control due to training with the Hyugas, which, to be honest, for their style of fighting, you basically need good chakra control. And also the kunai clone jutsu, the shuriken clone jutsu, which they would adapt from Sasuke and not from Iruka actually, which is somewhat a form of shadow clone, but not exactly. Also, they learn the transformation jutsu, which isn't going to lead to the sexy jutsu as it does in canon, so that's going to be a little difference. Also, people wouldn't despise Naruto for him being a prankster, so people in the academy wouldn't hate him per se, they'd just be curious about him. A lot of the kids' parents would tell them to stay away from Naruto, but more of the clan kids wouldn't be told that same thing, since their parents, to be frank, don't really care. So, Naruto and Hinata would mostly mind their own business due to Hinata being somewhat shy and not wanting to interact with everyone, but being comfortable around Naruto. On the other hand, another person that they spend a lot of time with is Shino. He seems to be a loner and not really interact with anyone, where Shikamaru and Choji would mind their own business and keep being too outgoing to really be friends with anyone. So Shino, Hinata, and Naruto would more or less be their own little group. Sasuke would always be off doing his own thing, and Sakura and Ino would always be following him. To be frank, they're not going to be the top students. Hiyashi being there, Naruto and Hinata both having drive, they'd more or less be put to the point where Naruto and Hinata would be the top students in the class, and then Sasuke and Sakura being underneath them, with Sasuke even at some point giving up on the academical portion due to favoring training. So, basically, I'm going to try and just go over everything in the academy right now. Some progression would happen, people would accept Naruto and Hinata, not really interacting with them all too much, but Naruto and Hinata growing steadily, but their growth is stunned a little bit because of being limited by the academy. The day of the final exams come, and everyone is there except one person. This would be Sasuke. He'd come as the last exam is being thrown, which is the clone jutsu. Naruto and Hinata would both have 10 perfect clones, Sakura have 2, Sasuke have 5 in this one because he wouldn't really practice that the clone jutsu all too much, and things will happen. So, Mizuki would be like, you all have passed for now, and then look at Sasuke like really disappointing, because, you know, Sasuke is supposed to be the Uchiha, and Mizuki hates Naruto, so he should have been first, but Sasuke actually got the least amount of points since he missed half of the exam, but he does pass by the skin on his teeth. Naruto and Hinata would go to celebrate with the Hyuga clan, and the next day Naruto would decide to go eat some ramen early in the morning after waking up. This is when he'd be introduced, or basically encountered by Mitsuki, he'd just start some conversation. He never actually straight up showed Naruto that he disliked him in the academy this time, and would say like, "Yo, Naruto, did you know that there's a way you could become a Chunin off the bat?" Naruto, wanting to impress the people that are in his life, like Hinata and Hiyashi, he'd immediately go like, "Yeah, what can I do?" He'd explain that there is a test, which are usually only told to you in the Chunin exams, but what you need to do is steal a scroll out of a heavily guarded place within the Hokage Manor. It's one of the most difficult tasks a shinobi can complete. That's why they'd be given the rank Chunin. And also within that scroll is an enlistment of jutsu, which you can learn one of. Naruto would smirk and obviously say, "Well, damn, guess I'm gonna be a Chunin then." Mitsuki would be off after giving Naruto all the information he needs, and Naruto would that night proceed to steal the scroll of sealing. Everyone will be after him without him knowing, and things lead to things. Naruto would learn the Shadow Clone and Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, getting them down straight away, and then would learn something else. This is a forbidden Hyuga technique, or not really forbidden, but it's highly suggested to not using it, and this would be the air palm. I'm gonna put the air palm in here so that Naruto has another jutsu to learn instead of just the shadow clone. He would learn the multi-shadow clone, but he's not necessarily going to use it all that often, and when he does, he'd only create around 10 clones. So Naruto, being smarter, would also read up on the fact that you retain any whatsoever consciousness of whatever your shadow clone does, and would keep this in mind since this would be good for stealth and things like that. He decided he'd test it out as soon as he got his Chunin rank, when Iruka would appear scolding him, which would be followed by Mitsuki appearing. Things would lead to things. Naruto, being scared, would try and run away, and Iruka would eventually take the hit for him, where Naruto would become enraged. Mitsuki would drop down and be like, "Naruto, now you're gonna die. You're the Nine Tails." And Naruto would just smirk. "I know I'm the Nine Tails. I know I'm a monster. The Hyuga clan told me that a long time ago. But they accepted me either way. And now I'll show you why they're the strongest clan in the Leaf." Naruto would take his Jugen stance, but before he does, he creates 10 exact clones, who all surround Mitsuki within the Jugen stance. Mitsuki would say, "Clones won't help you, not even if they were shadow clones. You're a mere genin." Naruto would say, "With the help of a forbidden Hyuga jutsu, I'll show you." He'd push chakra into his hands, similar to what he remembers happening with his feet back when he saved Hinata when they were kids. It would burst out as much chakra as possible, creating somewhat of a shockwave or a wind blast. All 10 directions coming, or from 10 different directions. These wind blasts coming towards Mitsuki, it would hit him. First time it would hurt a lot, but it wouldn't deal too much damage. Naruto would bite on his lip. This is bad. But as Mitsuki moves forward, the clones hit him again. Naruto sees what his clones see, and they just continue hitting him until he can physically not move any longer. They basically stun him with an air palm, continuously, basically putting him in the hospital. Shortly after Iruka ended scolding Naruto, even though he was pretty injured, people from the Hyuga clan would arrive, since they knew Naruto would not do this, being Hiyashi, Hinata's guardian Hinata, even Neji. Neji in this one would be somewhat friends with Naruto, but wouldn't train with him all that often, since Neji would rather keep to himself and train with Hanabi, who he sees as a more appropriate partner, since Naruto is stronger than Hinata, and the two of them train together all the time. So this would be the most beneficial. Neji would just smirk and ask Naruto how he could possibly beat a Chunin, and Naruto would show off his new technique. He'd fling his air palm towards a tree, scarring it on all directions and even destroying the bark on it, which would not only impress Hiyashi but Neji too. Hiyashi would say that, "Naruto, that's a forbidden Hyuga technique. Not because of its deadliness or anything like that, but because of its pure amount of chakra consumption. The fact that you learned that in one day is impressive." Naruto would explain to Hiyashi that it comes more or less from what he did to save Hinata when they were kids. Hiyashi would say, "I wondered what that why the bark was destroyed on that tree that night. But whatever, I trust you, Naruto." Neji would obviously have a new Hyuga Jutsu to learn, even though he already has the rotation down. Naruto cannot really do the rotation per se. And Hinata has been working on her own jutsu. It requires a little more fragility, but it will get there at some point. The three of them would then head back to the Hyuga compound where they'd celebrate, and the whole thing with Mitsuki would be resolved by the Anbu. So a week would go by and they'd be sat down to see who their senseis would be. It would go more or less the same, with Kakashi being assigned as the team's sensei, and he'd call them up to the roof after being a few hours late. Team 7 in this case would be Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke, or which would be known as the Leaf Village Tactical Attack Force Squad within this one. Since Sasuke had the lowest scores and Naruto and Hinata had the highest, they would automatically be paired by Iruka's words, and even though these groups, or this entire group, was requested by Kakashi. So, for now, Sakura is going to take Hinata's place on Shino and Kiba's squad, because there's no real point in having a team full of censors, and she'd be put on the route of Genjutsu. I'm not really going to focus on Sakura all that much until we get to the tuning exams. So, for now, obviously everyone would go through, and Naruto would say that his dream is to become Hokage and represent as the first person out of the Hyuga clan to become a Hokage. Even though he's not a Hyuga, they happily consider him as one. And that's what he meant. Kakashi would just say okay and continue to Hinata, who'd say that she wants to become strong for the person and people that she loves. She'd look at Naruto and start to blush. Kakashi would have a little giggle under his mask since the boy Naruto be doing good. And he would look over to Sasuke, the emo fuck which is Sasuke. He'd say, "And you, Uchiha?" Sasuke would have the rant about him killing Itachi and all that bullshit that he originally did, and it would end off with Kakashi basically telling them what he did in canon. Now that the emo boy is done, let's move on. In the morning, meet me at this time, don't eat because you'll puke, blah blah blah. They'd arrive and things would lead to things, and Kakashi would eventually arrive hours late. Naruto and Hinata minded their own business, practically ignoring Sasuke, which he didn't really care because he didn't really want to be bothered by them. And Kakashi would start their exam, like what much can you do? All of them would jump back with Naruto and Hinata landing around the same place so that they could coordinate. Even if this test could only let 2 people pass, they'd make sure it's them. So, because this is a Jonin, they'd have to work together to make that happen. But before they could leap out, they see that Sasuke had already went, when Naruto has an idea. He'll jump in and help Sasuke to mid-range, while Hinata tries to grab the bell while Kakashi's distracted. Hinata would agree, and thus it will continue. Sasuke would obviously throw a fireball at Kakashi, which he'd use the substitution jutsu to get in a tree. At this point, a Naruto clone behind Kakashi would throw an air palm at him, which this was unexpected because they wanted to ambush him, but it works. Kakashi dives out of the trees to be surrounded by a few Naruto clones and Sasuke. Sasuke would say that he doesn't need Naruto's help, but whatever, launching yet another fireball, which was this time compressed from all directions, even above, by Naruto and his clones with the air palm. Kakashi would seemingly disappear, and the next second Sasuke would be pulled underground. Naruto knows he just used the jutsu, but which one? He used the headhunter jutsu to get not only out of the way of the fireball and all the air palms, but to grab Sasuke and neutralize one of his opponents. As Kakashi comes out of the ground, Naruto and his clones would be ready to fight. Kakashi would say that fighting single-handedly would not help him, since, Kakashi is a Jonin. But at this point, Naruto is overwhelming Kakashi with the Jugen stance, and Hinata would make a leap for the bells. They'd miss, and as Kakashi said it, they couldn't get the bells. One of them is going to get tied up. But Hinata did grab the bells, that's the thing. Naruto had taught her how to make one singular shadow clone this past week, which actually helped them a lot, since this clone was the last second able to grab a bell off Kakashi, but not just one, 2 bells, which she would give to Naruto. Kakashi would leap off after tying Sasuke to the pole and telling Naruto and Hinata to eat. They'd realize that Sasuke is hungry and eventually feed him after some back and forth banter between the group, and Kakashi would leap out saying that not only did they use involuntary teamwork, which means they just naturally work together, but they showed that they could be a team even though he told them not to be one, which means that failing the mission makes you scum, but failing your friends make you worse than scum. That's what he'd tell them and would pass them. He'd tell them that training and missions would start tomorrow. And that is going to be it for this part, guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed. Sorry that this wasn't edited once again. Both me and Steak are a little busy. But I hope y'all enjoyed that this thing came out early, just like the last part. And yeah, this has been your boy Six. Peace.